Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopīnāṁ Vallabha Girivardhari Gopīnāṁ Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopīnāṁ Vallabha Girivardhari Gopīnāṁ Vallabha Girivardhari Gopīnāṁ Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Krishna 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 Hai Krishna 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 Hai Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Pahimam Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Rama Raghava Krishna 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 Hai Krishna 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 Hai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajikacharya Astatadasata Sri Srimad Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajikacharya Astatadasata Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nama Chadya Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadha, Sri Vasari Go Bhakta Vrinda ki, Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopīnāṁ, Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki, Sri Vrindavan Dham ki, Maipur Navadvip Dham ki, Purushottam Chetra Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, Premanandi Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Shaivo Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tojamudirayat Nasta Prayasya Bhadresya Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishike. Reading 10th canto, chapter 83, new chapter today, so I'll read the chapter summary first. This chapter relates, it's called Draupadi Meets the Queens of Kṛṣṇa. This chapter relates a conversation between Draupadi and Lord Kṛṣṇa's foremost queens, in which each of them describes how the Lord married her. Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa returned from his meeting with the gopis and asked King Yudhiṣṭhira and his other relatives whether they were well. They replied, "My lord, anyone who has just imbibed through his ears the honey of your pastimes can never know misfortune." Then Draupadi inquired from Lord Kṛṣṇa's wives how the Lord had come to marry them. Queen Rukmini spoke first. "Many kings, headed by Jarasandha, were intent on giving me in marriage to Shishupal. Thus, at my wedding, they all stood with bows in hand, ready to support Shishupal against any opponents. But Sri Kṛṣṇa came and forcibly took me away, as a lion takes his prey from amidst goats and sheep." Queen Satyabhama said, "When my uncle Prasenna was killed, my father Satyajit falsely accused Lord Kṛṣṇa of murder. To clear his name, Kṛṣṇa defeated Jambavān, recovered the Shamantaka jewel, and returned it to Satyajit. Repentant, my father presented the Lord with both the jewel and myself." Queen Jambavati said, "When Sri Kṛṣṇa entered my father's cave in search of the Shamantaka jewel, at first my father Jambavān did not understand who he was. So my father fought with him for 27 days and nights. Finally, Jambavān understood that Kṛṣṇa was none other than Lord Ramchandra, his worshipful Lord. Thus he gave Kṛṣṇa the Shamantaka jewel along with me." Queen Kalindi said, "To obtain Kṛṣṇa as my husband, I performed severe austerities. Then one day Lord Kṛṣṇa came to me in the company of Arjuna, and at that time the Lord agreed to marry me." Queen Mitravinda said, "Sri Kṛṣṇa came to my Swayamvar ceremony, where he defeated all the opposing kings and took me away to his city of Dwarka." Queen Satya said, "My father stipulated that to win my hand, a prospective suitor would have to subdue and tie up 7 powerful bulls. Accepting this challenge, Lord Kṛṣṇa playfully subdued them, defeated all his rival suitors and married me." Queen Bhadra said, "My father invited his nephew Kṛṣṇa, to whom I had already given my heart, and offered me to him as his bride. The dowry was an entire military division and a retinue of my female companions. Queen Lakshmana said to Draupadi, "At my Swayamvara, as at yours, a fish target was fastened near the ceiling. But in my case, the fish was concealed on all sides, and only his reflection could be seen in a pot of water below. Several kings tried to hit the fish with arrows, but failed. Arjuna then made his attempt. He concentrated on the reflection of the fish in the water and took careful aim. But when he released his arrow, it only grazed the target. Then Sri Krishna fixed his arrow on the bow and shot it straight through the target, knocking it to the ground. I placed the victory necklace on Sri Krishna's neck, but the kings who had failed a violent protest. Lord Kṛṣṇa valiantly fought them, cutting off their heads, arms and legs of many, and sending the rest fleeing for their lives. Then the Lord took me to Dwarka for our lavish wedding. Rohini Devi, representing all the other queens, explained that they were daughters of the kings defeated by Bhaumasura. The demon had held them captive, but when Lord Kṛṣṇa killed him, he had released them and married them all. So we'll do text one. Śrī-śuka uvāca. My glasses. Tathānugṛhya bhagavān. Gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. Yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam. śrī-śuka uvāca. tathānugṛhya bhagavān. gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. Yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam. śrī-śuka uvāca.
tathānugṛhya bhagavān.
bhagavān.
gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam. śrī-śuka uvāca. tathānugṛhya bhagavān. gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam. śrī-śuka uvāca. tathānugṛhya bhagavān. gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam. śrī-śuka uvāca. tathānugṛhya bhagavān. gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁś suhṛdo vyayam.
Mataji?
śrī-śuka uvāca. tathānugṛhya bhagavān. gopīnāṁ sa gurur gatiḥ. yudhiṣṭhiram athāpṛcchat. sarvāṁ suhṛdo vyayam.
Omagyantamarandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Deham Sri Guru Sita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Irupam Sagradyatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sudevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakahanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatrubhascha Kripasindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaur Tuche Namaha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, the translation, I'll go word for word, sorry. Śrī-śuka uvāca, Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, tathā, in this way, anugṛhya, showing favor, bhagavān, the Supreme Lord, gopīnām, of the young cowherd women, saha, he, guruḥ, their spiritual master, gatiḥ, and goal, yudhiṣṭhiram, from Yudhiṣṭhira, atha, then, apṛcchat, he inquired, sarvān, all, cha, and, śrī-śuka, his well-wishing relatives, avyayam, welfare. Translation. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, thus Lord Kṛṣṇa, the spiritual master of all the gopis, and the very purpose of their life, showed them his mercy. He then met with Yudhiṣṭhira and all his other relatives and inquired from them about their welfare. Purport, or the followers of Srila Prabhupada. The words guru gatiḥ have been translated here in their usual sense, spiritual master and goal. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, however, points out an additional meaning. While Lord Kṛṣṇa is the goal for all sadhus in general, for the gopis specifically, he is that goal which is guru, predominant, in the sense of completely eclipsing the significance of all other possible goals. Vrindavane ramanareti prasida bhuma tatrapi Krishna balarama supadamule jnanam parama Krishna sudamiti uktam tantastu deva Prabhupad namo namaste. In the holy land of Vrindavan, at Ramanreti, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Balaram, you are preaching the topmost knowledge of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the whole world. Therefore, we offer you our respectful obeisances. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is really meant to be read systematically from the first canto right through until the 10th canto, in order to understand all its different aspects and to appreciate the 10th canto when we get to it. Probably not everyone has done that. The first few cantos are like the lotus feet of Krishna, and gradually rising up. Can't hear? All right. So gradually rising up, we saw that Queen Kunti, even though she was his aunt, she followed this because she was a little shy. She first fixed her eyes on the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. So we are also meant to follow this procedure by meditating first on the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa, then gradually rising up through the different cantos. The 9th canto, which is about liberation, is considered to be the neck of Kṛṣṇa. And then the 10th canto is considered to be the smiling lotus face of Kṛṣṇa. So it's a very elevated subject matter, and we can't just jump to it straight away. But with proper explanation and purports, and by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we can understand something. And of course we can appreciate the pastimes of Kṛṣṇa. Just by hearing them, of course, we're becoming purified. So it's very unusual that a chapter starting off with talking about the queens of Kṛṣṇa, it starts off by talking about the gopis mainly. So it's mentioning that the gopis reject all other possible goals in life except for serving Kṛṣṇa and surrendering to Kṛṣṇa without any other motive, just for Kṛṣṇa's pleasure. The bhagavān starts off with Śrīla Vyasadeva. He is sitting morosely because he's written so many supplementary literatures like the Mahabharata, and the 4 Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana. He didn't write Ramayana. Vedanta Sutra. And still he wasn't satisfied. So Narad Muni came to him and said to him, "So why are you morose? You've written so many literatures like this." We see some of these literatures like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, they're meant for the lower classes, for entertainment mostly. Śrī-śuka. When I was in India in 1978, when the Mahabharata was first shown on TV, not many people had TVs then, and one person would have a TV and there'd be hundreds and hundreds of people blocking off the whole road everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere. Everyone was completely fascinated watching the Mahabharata on television. So we can understand that this is mainly for entertainment, although there's very little direct spiritual instruction. So Vyasadeva, he put the Bhagavad Gita within the text to give some direct spiritual instruction. So anyway, Vyasadeva, he was not feeling very happy, and Narad Muni pointed out his mistake. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of that verse that the spiritual master has the right to chastise his disciple in any way he sees fit. So he chastised Vyasadeva. He said, "Why are you writing all these supplementary books? You're encouraging people to do the very thing that we don't want them to do. They've been in the material world for millions of births doing fruitive activities, and you're encouraging them in the name of religion. And you've neglected, you've described moksha, karma, atha, dhamma, but you haven't described the loving service of Kṛṣṇa, what is that? Upasana kanda, bhakti." So Vyas felt despondent because he hadn't done that. And because in the very first few slokas of Bhagavatān, Sāvaipum samparodāma, Yatiya bhaktirodoksaje, Haiktiya apṛcchat, Yayatma suprasidati, that the supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving service of the Supreme Lord. Such service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. So Vyasadeva had neglected to do this. There's another verse, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Shakaliya Shanta, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atha Eva Shanta. So the Bhuktis, Muktis and Siddhis and Kamis, they won't reach ultimate happiness, eternal happiness. They're their goals are temporary and limited, and they won't attain. Srila Prabhupada often quote this, "Nā te vidu swatagatim hi Vishnum." People are so unfortunate, they don't understand what the goal of life is. We've transmigrated through so many different species, and there are millions of universes full of trillions of living entities like us, who are all originally part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So after migrating through so many different species and coming to the human form, it's a great misfortune if one doesn't then understand what the purpose of life is. Because this isn't afforded to the animal species. None of the animals can understand what the goal of life is or put it into practice, only in our human form of life. So it's a great, great misfortune not to understand this and to practice it. So then Vyasadeva, he wrote his purport to the Vedanta Sutta, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is all about the pastimes of Kṛṣṇa. The sages asked 6 different questions to Sutta Gosvāmī, and he replied to all of them, and he explained, first of all, what the goal of life was. And then there are so many verses describing how to put this into practice. Shindvatam svakata Kṛṣṇa punya sravana kirtana hridyantosti abhadrani hridyanoti saritsyatam. That just by hearing about these pastimes, it cleanses the heart of all the abhadrasya, the inauspicious elements. Bhakti Thakur has gone into great length describing all these inauspicious elements. There's one book, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami has written online. It's easily accessible, 55 pages, on all of the different anatas. There's one famous person, he said, we have discovered the enemy, and it is us. So the things that are impediments to our devotional service and stop us perfecting our devotional service, they're elaborated very concisely by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in such a way that by understanding them, we can also relate to Krishna's pastimes. So he starts off with the Shukadeva demon and progresses through 21 different leelas, each one representing a particular sort of anatta that can check our devotional service. At this stage of devotional service, tathānugṛhya, we're trying to cleanse these things from the heart. So hearing Bhagavatam is one of the processes that can help us do that. But also, when we receive the Bhakti Lata Bij from the spiritual master, the process of watering that bij is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But then, along with the watering process, so many weeds sprout out. So we have to learn how to recognize what are the weeds, and we have to know how to pull them out. So these, some of the different ones I can remember. Keshi demon represents pride. When the gopis became a little proud that, oh, Krishna is only dancing with me. Actually, Krishna was between 2 gopis. But when they became a little bit proud, Krishna left the rasa dance. Actually, there was only one Krishna standing next to Srimati Radharani. And all the other ones, there was Krishna between 2 gopis. Anyway, they became a little proud. So Krishna then left the rasa dance. So of course, the pride of the gopis is far, far removed from our pride. But still the lesson is there that if we become proud, Krishna will neglect us. So it's a good lesson. And there are so many different anattas like this. One of them is discord amongst Vaishnavas. So in order to, Srila Prabhupada said that as you cooperate amongst yourselves, by how well you cooperate amongst yourselves, then you'll show your love for me. So we're trying to follow the process that Prabhupada gave us. We accept that the authorities are giving us our service, what we should do, We may have so many ideas and we can put them to the authorities, but ultimately we should just surrender to what has been given to us. And in this way there are many anathas, and this process can go on even for many lives. Bhagavān Janma, we sing every morning, that if we commit offences to the holy name of Krishna, this anatha nivritti shat can go on for lifetimes and lifetimes. So it's a very age of devotional service. And of course, the last and biggest anathas are, well, the last one is pratishta, the desire to be glorified and worshipped by others. So sometimes we see that even a devotee who is quite advanced, as we say, nadanam najanamna sundarim, kavitam vadya gidisha kamaye, janmani janmanishvare, bhavatat bhakti rahita kitvaye. So we're aware that if we get too many followers and too much wealth, we may fall down from the exalted position of devotional service due to this fault of pratishta. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised if somebody falls down like this, and be surprised if they stay and overcome these anathas, because we've all been doing this process of devotional service in different stages for many lifetimes to come to this stage, and we're so fortunate to be here in Vrindavan, the best place to practice Krishna consciousness, where anything we do for the service of Krishna, we get 100 times the normal benefit. Some people say different amounts. I've always said 100. So also along with that, if we commit offence, then that offence is 100 times magnified. So we have to be very aware of what we're doing at all times in the Dharma. And if we become aware that we've committed an offence, then we should very humbly ask to be forgiven for that offence. Otherwise, it will become an impediment to progressing. We may not be able to progress further in our service until we've suffered the results of that offence. So very important to understand the offences that can be committed to the Dharma. So, it's said here that Srimati Radharani and the gopis, they're rejecting all other possible goals in life. So what are some of these possible goals? Well, there's two different paths that one can be on, the nivritti marg and the pravritti marg. Pravritti marg means following the injunctions in the Vedas to get some result for one's own benefit. And the nivritti marg is the opposite. Of course, the pravritti marg is very dangerous. We may be able to make very slow progress towards the ultimate goal, but it will be very slow and very dangerous. And we have the story of Maharaj Nriga. He fell down, even though he had performed so many millions and millions of pious acts, still he fell down by making one small mistake. So this pravritti marg is very dangerous. Nivritti marg means giving up everything connected with the material world and progressing straight on the path of Krishna consciousness. So this is the beginning of devotional service. And we have a nice verse in the Bhagavatam also. As Prabhupada said, Nate vidu swadikatim hivishnam. So this verse, I didn't know it once, but I've forgotten it. Vasudeva paraveda, Vasudeva paramaka, Vasudeva parayoga, Vasudeva parakriya, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva param tapa, Vasudeva param dhamma, Vasudeva paradhamma, Vasudeva paragati. So we see in this verse that gati is mentioned also. Gati means the goal of the path. And it's mentioned many times in many of the slokas that we study, gati. So these different processes, we've got here Vasudeva Paraveda. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that by all the Vedas I'm to be known. So the real benefit of the Vedas is to understand Vasudeva. We see that in the 10th canto in the Leela where Krishna and Balaram they sent the cowherd boys to the Vedic sacrifice that the Vedic Brahmins were doing. The Vedic Brahmins were attached to their ritualistic ceremonies and they ignored the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a possible result that we're talking about with Vyasadeva being chastised, that one can follow the Vedic ritualistic process and follow the Varnashram Dham. But if it doesn't invoke the desire to serve Krishna, then it's simply shrama evikevalam, a waste of time. But then we have Vasudeva Parayoga. So we were saying before, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Shakali Shanta. The yogis, especially in Patanjali's system of yoga, they want to actually merge into the body of Krishna. That's their goal. Prabhupada says in one purport that they'll become trees in their next life. Because he says it's even more heinous than wanting to merge into the Brahma-jyoti. To merge into the body of Krishna is a very horrible thing to do. Of course, one loses one's personal identity as a servant of Krishna. We have the devouring mouth of liberation, kaivalya. So then, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, there's Jnana Yoga is also mentioned, discussed in Bhagavad Gita. There are many different processes discussed in Bhagavad Gita. Jnana Yoga, after many millions of lifetimes, one may come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a very slow process. And then Pantastu Koti Satavatsarya Sampragamya. The yogis, they may, after millions of years of drilling their respiration, they may be able to approach the tip of the lotus feet of Krishna. It's not a direct process. Of course, Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the yogis. The bhaktas are the best. They're most dear to me. And then you have Vasudeva Param Tapa. So if we're performing austerities and the goal is not to elevate our position in Krishna consciousness, not to please Krishna, then our austerities are a waste of time. You see, sometimes there are yogis and they've got their arms up in the air and they're completely atrophied and they can't even go to the toilet and wipe their own bottom because they've got their arms up there completely stiff, been there for years, can't feed themselves or do anything, and somehow or another they're thinking this is pleasing to God. But tapa was given to Lord Brahma when he was sitting on the lotus flower, and the first things he heard after being completely bamboozled and meditating for 10,000 years were these two syllables in Sanskrit, ta, pa, like this. Lord Brahma heard this and could understand he was meant to perform austerity. So he meditated for thousands of years, and finally he heard the sound of Krishna's flute, and from that he expanded all the Vedic knowledge. So the goal of austerity is also to please Krishna. If we're performing some useless austerity just for the sake of being austere, and it's not pleasing to Krishna, it's a complete waste of time. And Vasudeva Paradama. So there are many verses, a few verses in the beginning of the Bhagavatam describing what real Dharma is. And the Bhagavatam, of course, rejects any Dharma which is personally motivated, and it's called cheating religion. So this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, of following the Vedic rituals, is a secondary process. It's not really religion, it's cheating religion. So then we have the last Vasudeva Paragati, which is what we're talking about in this verse. Vasudeva, who is the son of Vasudeva, who is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, he's not really the son of Vasudeva, because he doesn't take birth like ordinary conditioned living beings. Janma karma chame divyam, evam yo vati tattva. Krishna's appearance and disappearance are transcendental, they're not ordinary. So the goal of all of these processes is Krishna. So Krishna describes all these processes in Bhagavad Gita, and then finally he says they should all be given up. This is the beginning of Sudha Bhakti, to give up all these processes of religion which don't have pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any motivation, other motivation as the supreme goal. They should be given up. So I was going to talk about this because it's the main point in the purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, however, points out an additional meaning besides spiritual master and goal of gatiḥ. While Lord Kṛṣṇa is the goal for all sadhus in general, for the gopis specifically, he is that goal which is guru, predominant, which means that all other goals can be given up. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was told by Sarvāṁ Bhattacharya to meet after he had been purified by Lord Chaitanya. He was asked by Sarvāṁ Bhattacharya to meet on his travels Ramananda Rai, Srila Ramananda Rai. So it's described that in his wanderings, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the temple of Sri Nrsimha. And in that temple he chanted many verses in scripture and danced in ecstasy. Sri Nrsimha, Jaya Nrsimha, Jaya Jaya Nrsimha, Paladesha, Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringam, and many other verses like this. Then when he had completely chanted and danced to his satisfaction, he went to the Godavari river to take his bath. So he swam across the Godavari river, and on the other bank, as he was coming out of the river, Srila Ramananda Rai was coming on a palanquin with all of his Vedic Brahmins. It's described this was a chance meeting, but of course nothing happens by chance. This was preordained. So Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were intensely eager to meet each other. They recognized each other straight away, and they embraced and felt transcendental ecstasy. And their voices choked up, tears came to their eyes, like this. Sometimes we sing, Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sarira, Hari Hari bolite nayane babinira. When? Well, I'm chanting the name of Lord Gauranga. Well, tears come to my eyes and my voice choke up. So anyway, Lord Gauranga who is, of course, Krishna himself, showing us how to be devotee. He's in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and he's showing perfectly how to perform devotional service, which is completely transcendental to any mundane material activity. So when they embraced like this, the Vedic Brahmins, they thought, what is going on here? This man is a sannyasi and he's embracing a lower class man, he's a Sudra. They couldn't understand the transcendental nature of the dealings. So it's said that nobody can understand the mind of a Vaishnava. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai went to a secluded place, so they rejected the Brahmins' company, and they began to discuss about Krishna. At that time, a Brahmin from the nearby village of Vidyanagara came there, and he requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you please come to my house for 10 days at night. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted that request. And every night after that, Lord Chaitanya went to his house, and Ramananda Rai was also invited. And they discuss topics of Krishna consciousness. So the first thing that Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai, because Ramananda Rai at that time was the governor of Madras, and he'd been glorified by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya as also knowing all the different aspects of ras and performance arts. So he was the right person to ask questions from, even though apparently he was in the body of a Sudra and he was acting as a governor. So sometimes devotees are sleeping agents like this. One can't understand from their external features that they're greatly elevated devotees. Even Srila Prabhupada said once that his intimate associates, because the spiritual master is never alone, he's always with his entourage. So he said that his intimate associates, we can say devotees like maybe Brahmananda and Satsvarup and so on, Tamal Krishna and Gosvāmī, he called them sleeping agents. That when Prabhupada came, immediately they woke up and their Krishna consciousness was awakened again. So the Nityasiddha devotees, they may also appear to be ordinary people. Like Srila Prabhupada in his early life, although he was always a devotee, he didn't seem to be a greatly elevated soul externally. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told all the others, you're calling him a dirty grihasta, but actually he will do everything when the time comes. He could understand Srila Prabhupada's real nature. So anyway, the first question that Lord Chaitanya asked was, can we talk about what is the goal of life? So Sri Chaitanya, Srila Ramananda Rai, first of all, he said following the Varnashram Dharma is the goal of life. By following this, one will awaken one's service attitude to Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, this is external. Describe something better. So still we have even devotees who think that Varnashram Dharma is actually the goal of life. And the Tattvavadis in particular, Lord Chaitanya chastised them. He said, the only good quality you have is that you believe in the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, you're following this Varnashram Dharma. And the verse in the Bhagavatam says, Shrama eva hi kevalam. But if it doesn't awaken your desire to serve Krishna continuously without motivation, then it's a waste of time. So then Srila Ramananda Rai, he described different processes of bhakti. It's described that these processes of bhakti are like, first of all, different metals, copper, silver, gold, and then touchstone. So increasing in the depth of the mood of service and love of Krishna. So first of all, he described Kama Misra Bhakti, and then he described Jnana Misra Bhakti. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected these also. These are also external, he said. So he kept on rejecting different so-called goals of life being proposed by Srila Ramananda Rai. And then he quoted the verse of Bhagavad Gita, the Savadamam Prikagya. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a bit more interested. He said, go on, keep on describing. So then he just started describing the different levels of devotional service, from bhava up to prem, and how it is like boiling sugarcane juice. When you boil the sugarcane juice, gradually it thickens. In Australia we have one of those products, it's called golden syrup. I don't know if you have it here. Then from golden syrup gradually you get molasses, and the molasses starts to solidify and you get jaggery. So the jaggery is the end product, and it's very sweet, of course. The sweetness intensifies as one goes deeper and deeper into Krishna consciousness. So Lord Chaitanya, is one of his famous statements is prema pumata mahan. Goal in life than kama moksha dharma is to attain love of Godhead, prema, the great goal of life, pumata mahan. So as he was rejecting all of these different proposals, he was accepting the process of devotional service. He described Raganuga Bhakti and in Rasika Bhakti. And he was describing eventually that there is no better process described anywhere or practiced by anyone than that practiced by the gopis of Vrindavan. This is the topmost process. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became satisfied. A little, but he wanted more also. So we say this verse, Gopi Padakamalaya Das Das Anudas. Not that we can become a gopi, but we can follow the process given by the gopis of Braj, that their life and soul is Krishna. I don't want anything else. When Krishna played his flute, some of the gopis, they let the milk boil on the stove. Some of them didn't dress themselves properly. Others put their children down that were feeding on their breast. And in this way they gave up their household activities, ran away from their so-called husbands, and they ran to the forest in the middle of the night just to please Krishna. And so in this way we can understand that Ramananda Rai, he described the different, from Rasika Bhakti, he described the different five rasas. It started off, of course, with neutrality, and then as that deepens, one comes to dasya ras, and then from dasya ras, if that deepens, it becomes sakya ras, friendship, and then from friendship, it can deepen also to the vatsalya ras, parental affection, and then ultimately this madhurya ras. So even further than this, Srila Ramananda Rai, he described prema vivata vilas. And of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was showing that vipralamba ras, the mood of separation from Krishna, is the highest, it's the sweetest ras, the sweetest enjoyment in serving Krishna is this vipralamba ras. Prabhupada once said that we should be trying to develop this mood of separation from Krishna. As we sing in the Sad Gosvāmī Astakam, Hey Krishna, what is that? Hey Braja Devi Lalit Devi Ke, Hey Nanda Sunakuta. Where are you, Krishna? Are you on the hill of Govardhan? Are you on the banks of the Jamuna? Where are you? And in this way they were wandering about Vrindavan, calling out loudly. Not that now I've seen Krishna business finished, Prabhupada says. But Krishna appears to leave Vrindavan so that this mood of vipralamba can be felt. This mood of separation from Krishna can be felt, and it is an intensification of the love of the gopis. So in prema vivati vilas, one of the symptoms of ecstatic love and separation is that one makes mistakes, sometimes makes mistakes. So in this way Srimati Radharani was embracing a tamal tree, thinking it was Krishna. So this is a type of mistake that can be made in the madness of vipralamba ras. So the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is unique for this mood of vipralamba ras. And of course, eventually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai was such a great devotee. Of course, some say that he was, Srila Prabhupada says he was Vishaka, others say he was Lalita. They're the two most intimate gopi associates of Srimati Radharani. And so naturally there was great affection between Lalita or Vishaka and Lord Chaitanya. And at that time Ramananda Rai could understand that here is Krishna. Tvitsa Krishnam, Vana, what is that? Sangopangasha Pashadam? that here is Krishna, but he's appearing with a golden color. And then Lord Chaitanya, he said to Ramananda, yes, because I've touched Srimati Radharani, my complexion has become golden. So at that time, Ramananda, he could understand Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahyanya. He could see that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna and Srimati Radharani combined. In many of the Gaudiya Vaishnava temples, if not most, there is always a statue, or a deity of Lord Chaitanya on one side, and there is Radha Krishna on the other, to show this, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, even though he is in a golden color. So we're very, very fortunate for this reason also. Just after Krishna appears, once in that day Brahma, Lord Chaitanya appears, not all the time. He appears very rarely, and this was only a few hundred years ago. And as Advaita Acharya was meditating and calling out loudly for the Lord for a whole year to get him to descend. He had already started off a bhakti school, and there were many devotees there. And of course, he was also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But still, he didn't think he was able to carry out the mission of saving all the conditioned souls, and they're in such a terrible state that he felt great compassion for them. So he was calling out very loudly to Lord Chaitanya that to make him descend, and offering tulsi leaves and Ganga water to his Shalagram Shila. And eventually, when everyone was chanting Hare Hare in the full moon eclipse in the Ganga, then Lord Chaitanya appeared as the son of Mother Sachi. So we chant Jai Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. So for us, we have to approach Lord Chaitanya. First of all, we have to approach the representative of Lord Chaitanya, Guru. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, one devotee once asked Srila Prabhupada, why didn't Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness all over the world by himself? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada replied that he left it for me to do. So Krishna wants to glorify his pure devotees. So just imagine how dear Srila Prabhupada is to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave Lord Nityananda 3 instructions. Bhaja Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. You chant Hare Krishna, you worship Krishna, and you tell others about Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So this is our business. And Srila Prabhupada, Prativite Achayata Nagaradi Gram, of course, the Gaudiya Math members were scratching their heads and wondering how this was going to happen. How would Krishna consciousness spread to all the towns and villages of the world? And to do this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Srila Prabhupada. Now we can understand what a great devotee of Lord Nityananda that Srila Prabhupada must be, that he was able to do this and nobody else could do it. What is that? Krishna Shakti Vinanahi Tava Pravatan. That unless one is specifically empowered by Krishna, one cannot spread Krishna consciousness. So our main business really is to try and carry out these instructions, understanding the goal of life and understanding how unfortunate all of the completely conditioned souls are, that we should be titiksha karunika, we should be very merciful and try and give Krishna consciousness to everyone we meet. This is the instruction of Lord Chaitanya, this instruction of Srila Prabhupada. One time Prabhupada was on a morning walk in Hawaii. He suddenly turned around and said, what does Krishna want? To the devotees. Can somebody answer? I've already said this once in class, I think. Give me the answer. What does Krishna want? And then Prabhupada, one devotee said, very quickly, said, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna wants every living entity to go back home, back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, thank you very much. So this is the mission of Lord Chaitanya. His Namo Mahavadanyaya. He's the most merciful. Even Advaita Acharya, although he's the incarnation of the Lord, he felt himself incapable of carrying this out. So he called for Lord Chaitanya to do it. And Lord Chaitanya descended. This was one of his purposes, to inundate the whole world with Krishna prema, which no other avatar could do or had done before. So this is our great, great good fortune that we're here at this time, this place, and we're able to serve Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna in this way, perfect our lives, go back home, back to Godhead, and live eternally in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thank you very much. Any questions? Think hard. I'm tempted to ask you more questions. All right, well, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Amen.